Hey guys, PJ here and welcome to another devlog video about the Open World Sandbox game that I'm working on. The game focuses on combat against various enemies and has a unique ability system that essentially allows you to build your own Overwatch hero. The game is heavily inspired by titles like Terraria and seeks to capture that same whimsical and lighthearted vibe and also the power progression that Terraria is known for. Except this time it's in 3D, so there's a whole other dimension of possibilities and also development headaches. It's been a while since the last devlog, but we've made quite a bit of progress on the game, so I hope that makes up for it. Last video I said the goal was to make the game playable before the end of the year, and well, it's actually playable right now-ish. A few days ago we did our first internal playtest of the game, and it kind of went better than I expected. I'll talk a bit more about that and the lessons we learned from it later on in the video, so definitely stick around for that. First, however, we've got some good old devlogging to do. We've added 6 new enemies with each their unique abilities. We've added 34 new items and even some new player abilities. Granted, they all look a bit scuffed. The Cyclops doesn't even look like a Cyclops, but you know, this is just for prototype. We'll fix the visuals later. And I also started working on integrating Lua scripting into the game as well. One of the things I haven't really talked about is how data-driven everything is in the game. This makes it a lot easier for us to add new items and creatures and stuff like that. Let's take a look at how we do items, for example. All the items in the game are stored in this big XML file. If you want to create a new item right now, what we do is we simply copy-paste something here, edit some values, and we've essentially got ourselves a new item. Now, we still obviously need a model for that item, but the convenient thing about this art style is that it doesn't take very long to create models, and it's also quite easy, so even I can do it, even though I'm not even an artist. For items, there's basically no code involved. Similar to items, we also have stuff like creatures, abilities, status effects, passive effects, drop tables, you name it. If it exists in the game, it's probably in here somewhere. It took some time to set it all up, but it was definitely necessary for this type of game. So I quickly want to show you some of the new enemies that we added, just to give you an idea of the direction that we're going in. Do bear in mind they still look super jank, especially the animations. All of these are basically just free placeholder assets. Anyway, take a look at this crab. So crabs are not aggressive, they'll only attack you if you attack them first, but if you do, beware because they're actually deceptively strong. They'll do this burrowing attack that lets them dig underneath objects and makes them invulnerable. When they come out, they'll try to slow you, and if you don't get away fast, they'll pinch you for additional damage that stacks up fast. They can also knock you up in the air, and their attacks are quite fast, so they can be difficult to dodge sometimes. I think I died to this guy like 4 times in our 1-hour playtest. He might need a nerf. There's also this guy who throws rocks at you to stun you. If you manage to catch up with you, he can deal a massive amount of damage with his axe. Very unpleasant. We've also added some new abilities for the player. There's now a sword that gives you a whirlwind ability, so you can be a spinny boy. And there's also a laser beam that doesn't have laser beam yet, so it looks kind of weird, but it's fun to use. We've also adjusted the big fireball ability to now have a huge knockback, which you can also use on yourself, so you can knock yourself to high places. We're going to be adding a lot more abilities for the player while we are working towards our boss fight. All of these creatures and abilities for now are done in C++. It works for now, it's not too bad, but again, it can get quite cumbersome sometimes. But really the worst part about it is that scripts are often the cause of game crashes. If some Fire Nova ability script tries to access an entity that doesn't exist, it crashes the entire game, which is not ideal. So to help address some of those issues, on the side I've been working on adding Lua support for scripting to the game. On one hand, this will make scripting everything much easier for us, and on the other hand, it will actually really open up the game to modders as well. Basically any enemy or ability that we'll be able to create, you'll be able to create as well. So technically you could easily mod in your own bosses into the game. What's really exciting is that for Lua, we support hot reloading. So the game detects when a script is saved and it will automatically reload it. You can see it in action here with this dummy script. The hello world text shows up in the console whenever I hit Ctrl S in VS Code. I personally can't wait until this is usable because this will be insane when creating new enemies. We will literally be able to write changes and see the enemy's behaviors change in front of our eyes. It's gonna allow us to iterate a lot faster. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, last week we did our first ever playtest for the game. And even though it was just with some close friends, I was kind of nervous about it, to be honest. I thought there wouldn't be anywhere near enough content to fill a half an hour, let alone an hour. After all, just 1 month ago we basically didn't have any gameplay at all. All this stuff was basically cobbled together just this month. Also, I was fully expecting everyone's games to just crash and that we'd be sitting there trying to figure out technical issues the entire time. But honestly, to most of our surprise, that didn't actually happen. Okay, 1 out of 4 of us did have a crash during the test at some point. but the other people were fine. Somehow it all came together, so that's good, I guess. Then on the gameplay side, it actually also went above our expectations. We almost took the full hour to run out of content, and it would have taken even longer had we not forgotten to put actual pickaxe requirements on mining specific ores. So you could basically get iron, which is the strongest ore, immediately from the get-go, which eliminated part of the progression. One of the lessons that we learned is that we definitely will need some form of multiplayer scaling, because the strongest enemy that we currently have died literally 2 minutes into the playtest. There are a bunch of smaller issues as well that we realized, ranging from simple oversights like there not being any way to craft boots in the game, to there not being any consumables yet, therefore no way to heal yourself. There's also no passive out of combat regeneration, so you better not lose any HP because you've lost it forever until you die. Speaking of death, there is not much to it currently. In fact, sometimes people were using it to get back to spawn quickly because there's literally no punishment for it apart from a 15-second timeout. For now though, I'm looking forward to our next playtest myself actually, where we'll be able to finally have a boss fight, so that should be fun. So that's it for this devlog video. Thank you very much for watching. If you are interested in seeing more updates about the game or its development, make sure to subscribe, it does really help a lot. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments. I always forget this, but we also have a Discord server that you can join, link is in the description. Big shout out to Astral Kling, Vicente Spencer and Pinu for supporting the channel over on Ko-fi. If you want to support as well, you can do so through the Ko-fi link in the description. Again, big thanks for sticking with the channel guys. That's it for me and I'll see you next time. Bye.